Rick Fox has had quite the wild journey from being a highly competitive basketball player playing with the likes of Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal to becoming a lovable esports figure in the community and a wholesome story of father and son bonding. So before we dive into the story of his fan favorite organization echofox as well as his really well-liked personality, let's really take a look at the significance behind Rick Fox entering the esports scene. Long before his days of playing alongside Faker and being an advocate for competitive gaming, Rick Fox was actually best known by the world as a standout NBA player who played for 13 years and most notably winning 3 NBA titles. During this time in the NBA, Rick Fox was a small forward initially for the Celtics and then later on down the line the Lakers. But even if you didn't know him for his basketball at all, you may have still recognized him from when he placed 6th in Dancing with the Stars, starred in a slew of movies, or was just an attractive person. So in short, people in the early 2000s knew who Rick Fox was, whether it was for his looks, performances, or shall we say his competitive nature. However, one direction people did not expect Fox to take was him garnering a large interest in the gaming industry, and especially an interest that wasn't solely tied to the monetary benefits of just esports. Rather, Rick Fox's love for esports initially began from a want to bond with his son, since after all, he had been pretty busy winning NBA titles during his son's childhood. He had heard his son was invested in this game called League of Legends, and so on a father and son trip, they went to Madison Square Garden mainly as a way to connect and for Rick to learn more about his son's fascination with competitive gaming. But even after entering this arena initially as a former basketball player who had played there many years before, Rick Fox began to feel a connection to this new yet familiar type of sporting environment.
Everything about the sounds, the fans, everything about the experience really reignited what I'd known for so many years.
And as the series played out, Fox began to realize the potential this new type of sporting world had to offer for a competitive person such as himself.
I expected to be there in support of my son's passion. I expected to enjoy my time with him. I didn't expect to have a switch turned on. I didn't expect to fall in love.
And that's exactly what it is, Kobe. It's poised right here because Team Liquid is a team that has tilted.
After meeting with the players of his son's favorite team CLG, his recognition of esports players as athletes, and understanding the familiarity of competitive emotions, he began to feel a draw to devote more time into investing himself into this world. No longer was Rick Fox solely interested in esports as a way to connect with his son more, but rather he was now captivated by this new world that had the familiarity of a 5-on-5 competitiveness of basketball as well as some novelties that he had yet to explore. And upon spending more time with the players of CLG, on their return back home, Rick began to try out the game for himself and began to see what we had all seen in the game for years.
I've not found a favorite champion yet, and Kyle knows this. I started with Lysandra. I was playing a lot of female champions to begin with. They were just so attractive. That was the initial way in for me.
Well, that and the idea that he had the bandwidth to potentially start a team of his own. And while he may have famously been an Iron and Bronze player, Rick Fox began building his own organization, a team that represented the family name, a team named echofox. Bringing his son on board and helping create this new organization, echofox initially entered in the competitive League of Legends scene, and while they weren't necessarily the greatest team in the league, they still had the support of their fan base. People began to draw closer to the narrative of a father and son team built on passion and love for the game, and even outside of the League of Legends scene, people began to respect Rick Fox as a champion for esports as a whole. Ultimately, what people were really drawn to Rick for in particular was that he genuinely cared for his team and wanted to be on the ground floor of everything echofox. And of course, there have been esports organizations that have been run by wealthy people in the past, however, a lot of the time they often just ignore their players or just treat esports for their business purposes. But on the contrary, Rick Fox wasn't like that. He was well-mannered, wanted the best for his players, and even though he was still relatively new to this world of esports, he worked hard to immerse himself in its culture. And looking back on things, it's pretty hard to imagine that this person is the exact same person as this one. Rick Fox's organization even grew to expand itself outside of League of Legends and included games such as CSGO, Call of Duty, and had some pretty solid fighting game players as well, most notably the instantly recognizable and fittingly signed Sonic Fox. And though echofox may have begun to branch out to different areas of the esports atmosphere, there would ultimately come some controversy within the organization that slowly began to eat it apart from the inside out. In August of 2019, one of echofox's shareholders, Amit Raizada, was accused of racist hate speech, which of course violates Riot's terms of service when it comes to teams within their leagues. echofox was temporarily suspended from the North American LCS as a result and were given 60 days to resolve the issues within their company that caused such speech to go unaddressed. But unfortunately for echofox, after those 60 days had passed, they still were unable to remove this shareholder. Rick Fox of course said he would stand by his team and do his best to ensure the organization organization's security, but after accusing Raizada of using the N-word at his expense and Raizada's refusal to leave the company, Fox would explain his stance well as the organization began to deal with even more issues with the matter.
Yeah, look, I have amazing partners, investors, sponsors that don't stand for, you know, this type of behavior. I have the best players in the world, like, you know, whether it's with my partners, current partners now, or new partners, of course. I mean, this has been my life. This has been my passion. Yeah. And I'm not looking to go anywhere, but I will not stay in a business with a racist. I just won't.
I feel like the consensus is he's out.
Yeah, but that you have to look in business. There's something that a lot of people, you know, will learn as they maybe get into business in their lives, is that he has rights as well. You know, the unfortunate thing is being a racist in America, or being a racist in general, is not illegal, unfortunately. Right. And so he has his own economic interest and his one's rights. So no one's going to trample on his rights, but I have my rights as well. Right. And there's certain things I stand for, and there's integrity that I think I have to be have in my life with my own kids. Right. And in general in society. And I'm about standing against these type of things. And so I can only do what I believe in.
And as a result of this back and forth lawsuit battle, as well as some other financial issues, echofox is an organization with disband and sell their slot and some of their players to evil geniuses, as well as various other teams. But even despite the disbanding of his own organization, Rick Fox still insisted on being a part of the esports industry. Shortly after the dust had begun to settle on the collapse of echofox, Rick would still remain in the presence of primarily League of Legends related esports, most notably streaming the game for 24 hours to raise money for the Bahama Relief Foundation. And of course, he played with Faker during this time and even compared him to the same level of play as legendary NBA players as Michael Jordan and Larry Bird. And when asked by Travis Gafford in an interview concerning his future in esports after his organization's collapse, this is what Rick Fox had to share on the matter.
It's one thing to be in the trenches as I was from the beginning, in an aggressive fashion, both building the franchise, funding the franchise, doing everything that has been written that I may not have been doing, and then everything later on that I was accused of doing that I wasn't doing. And so, you know, all of that stuff is noise. It's a lot of unnecessary noise and confusing for the media like yourself that are trying to find the truth, and also understanding that the community wants to just know what happened. And what happened was bad business was done by a lot of people. And it's unfortunate, and I have to take responsibility for my choice of partners, which I've learned a life lesson in from that, but it hasn't in any way deterred my love for esports, my love for the game, my love for the fan and community base, and it's why I'm still here. It's why I'll continue to move forward and be in esports, and especially in the League of Legends community.
The best way that I feel you could really sum up the situation of Rick, and by that extension echofox, would be this following Dr. Seuss quote, which I'm sure you've seen many times before. Don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened. Even at Worlds Finals just this past year, I still saw people rocking their echofox jersey, so even though it's not necessarily the happiest ending in the world, it's still a pretty wholesome story to tell, so I felt I'd share it today. And with that being said, if you did enjoy this content, feel free to drop a subscription because it's free, or maybe even just leave a comment for the algorithm if you're not sure if you want to subscribe yet. But yeah, with that being said, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day or night, and I'll catch y'all in the next video. Later.